2. All right, we got to continue our 32 and 32 series before Aditi gets here. And today, at number 19, is the Browns' second newest defensive end, Ogbo Okoronkwo, which I think I've pronounced his name right for the first time in the history of them signing him. G, I want to start with you. You zagged when we thought we were going to zig last time. Are you going to zig when I think you're going to zag here? Is he a top 20 most important player in the Browns for this upcoming season?
Top 20?
Top 20.
Well, he's at 19, right?
Correct.
He's not a starter. But I'll put him in there. Because people have been telling Myles Garrett he's been falling off for years. Myles Garrett gets tired. He doesn't get any sacks. No sacks for Myles Garrett after fourth quarter. What is he doing? Now you got a guy that can really move your pass rush to a next level. You can now run your Greyhound package with all 4 defensive linemen that are ends in there. You can also run some different things. He's a speed rusher. You can keep him fresh. He's small. He's on the light side. But you want to get those guys in second and long, third and long, so you can get these guys off the edge. He's built like an Under Armour model or a Thundercat. And I think that this guy is going to be he's going to be a fan favorite because he's going to guys like this I used to get mad at. Like I didn't have the defensive end body. I had the medium body. You'd be like, "Do you lift weights?" I was just big. I just had meat. It was just meat. It wasn't no cuts, just all meat.
Meat hooks.
Just meat. They're like, we need the guys that are going to get these sacks that look like Under Armour models, that look like Myles Garrett. So they will sub you in and out. I'm like, you do know I can rush the passer. They're like, you got to get at least 2-3 abs before you can get that off. So I'm going to
need a 2-pack.
You need at least a 2-pack, not the 4, 2. And I worked hard. I was doing abs. It never worked. But needless to say, I think he's going to have a good year. I think he can be part. My dream is to get to the point where they can say, we got a dude coming off the bench with 9 sacks. That means you good. That means you're very good.
I got to tell you guys, I have been highly critical of the 32 for 32 list. I think that Mikey and Earl and Anthony have overall poorly dropped the ball.
Well, when Mike was on vacation, they were
just
picking
all
the
hell.
wrong guys.
When Mike was,
they wouldn't even go by their list.
Anthony and Earl destroyed this list when Mike went on vacation.
That is totally not true. I think this
that
is the
100%
most well
true.
Put together.
Earl, it was well put together, but it was poorly executed.
Earl had the special teams coach. The special teams coach is the 13th most important person on the team. Okay?
First of all, he's 4th. I have him 4th. He's higher than that. 4th. If you look at the history of the UCSS, this is absolutely hands down the best list that we've ever done.
I hope not.
So, but what I want to say is that
we just
finally,
heard Anthony say we can't argue we messed this whole thing up.
Yes, exactly. But finally, with Ogbo Okoronkwo, you have screwed it up again.
Oh, wow. I thought you were
top 20 player. Are you out of your mind? How can a guy who's a backup, he is a backup.
Right.
He's going to play, but he's a backup.
That's not, I mean, it's tough to say that he's a backup because if you're a backup left tackle,
right,
you're not sniffing the field.
Okay, that's fair.
But he's a rotational
player.
Yes.
Okay? But there's no way he's one of the 20 most important pieces on this team. On the defense alone, at best, he's the 10th most important player on the team.
Wow. I mean, I don't have any of the linebackers ahead of him.
I have 5 starters in the secondary, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean,
is he more important than any of the 5 starters in the secondary?
I would say
no.
No.
He played closer to the line of scrimmage.
No, but Bull, I'll use your
I'll take
here. He probably isn't, and he's not more important than Myles Garrett.
And the rest of the defensive line.
Really?
I don't think so.
Because Shelby Harris was not part of this.
He was not part of the list.
So, okay.
Because I would definitely
you guys laughed when I said he's the 10th most important guy at best on defense. Yeah. I wasn't including any linebackers. I was including 5 defensive backs and the 4 starting defensive linemen. If he was more important than any of those guys, he'd be starting.
Okay.
So that's 9 guys that would put him 10th. Then on offense, by the way, he's at least 11th because I'd say Jim Schwartz is more important than him. Would anybody disagree with that?
No, I would definitely have.
Okay, so that's 10 guys ahead of him right there. I got, in my opinion, obviously the quarterback, obviously Amari Cooper, obviously Elijah Moore, obviously Nick Chubb, obviously David Njoku. I would take the entire starting offensive line is more important than him, and I would take Kevin Stefanski is more important to him.
Okay.
That puts him at best at 23, 24.
22. I was counting.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
at 22.
Yeah.
So it's not so egregious that
It's egregious,
we're going to
Jay.
peel our
Come on.
skin off. And you make good points. However, I
Yeah.
would say that
And
I
Cade
think
York,
he's higher
Cade
on
York, more important.
who?
Cade York.
Yeah, well, he's definitely higher than because look, games are decided by 3 points. Many of them.
Yes.
If your kicker isn't any good,
Yeah.
you're going to lose games because your kicker isn't any good.
Yes.
So
I would
have
also
him
argue
higher
that
than
Anthony
too.
Walker is more
However,
important than him, too.
I'm not using your argument. You made it first, but when I was thinking about this,
Yeah.
the reason I said that this is appropriate, I think that I'm going to say he is more valuable
Yeah.
than some offensive line starters
Fact.
Okay.
because
Can't be a
he's
fact, it's an
rotational
opinion.
player.
Tell him, Jay.
And
Tell him, Jay.
because of
Yeah.
what he means to our best player on defense, Myles Garrett.
Mic drop.
Okay. So give me. First
to
of all,
go.
it can't be a fact because it's all opinion. No, now, give me an offensive lineman you think he's more important than.
I'm going to tell you that in general, now
Yeah.
this is going to sound terrible because
Yeah.
I'm making a generalization.
Okay.
The left tackle is obviously, in my view, you could make the case it's the second most important position on your entire team. He's your
You could make that
quarterback's
argument,
blindside
yeah.
bodyguard.
Uh-huh.
If you have Patrick Mahomes and a terrible left tackle, you may not have Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So in building my team, I want strength at quarterback, left tackle, and guys that chase quarterbacks. Those are the players for me that move my needle.
Right.
Because and I thought you perfectly summed it up with
Yeah.
how you're pairing him with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's your most important defensive player. Some could argue he's the most important player on this team, not named Deshaun Watson. I think that you're not just weighing in this formula what he brings to the team. Mm-hmm. You need to put into the equation what he does for Myles Garrett and how Myles Garrett's production is going to go up because of him. So that's why I'm placing him at a slightly higher, more important role than some of the offensive
Well, like
linemen.
who? You put him ahead of Joe Bitonio?
No. Batonio and left tackle are the two
What
guys.
about Pocic? You think he's
Everybody
more
else,
important than Pocic?
everybody else, yes. And here's why.
Yeah.
If Pocic goes down, are we done?
No, but if Ogbo goes down, are we done? No.
No, I
No.
know, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that on offense, and we've seen this in the past, when we've lost offensive linemen and we've thought, oh no, when we lost Nick Harris, we thought this could be our
This about to be
season.
a problem.
And you know what they did? They went and found a free agent that was still on the heap
Right.
in early August, and they just plugged and played.
Has Pocic had a Pro Bowl caliber season?
Yes.
Has Ogbo? No.
No, but
No.
no. But I also think that Pocic is a product of playing next to Batonio.
But
I think that I look at the offensive line and the defensive line the same way.
Yeah.
They're units, not individual players.
Agreed, but if it was that easy, why isn't Jed Wills better?
Well, I think he's playing.
I mean,
I think he's playing the most important position on the line.
Agreed, but he hasn't played at that high a level.
And a great left tackle can make
Yeah.
everyone around him better.
100% agree.
A great left guard isn't going to make your left tackle
I
any better.
agree, and that's why left tackle is important.
Right.
However, if it was just so easy that they could throw anybody in at
I'm
center,
not
he'd
saying
be
it's
fine.
just so easy.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, again, because
Yeah.
of the relationship that how he's going to impact Myles Garrett's
Right.
production. That's why I think the way G does, he's in the top 20 most important
I
players on this
think.
team.
Listen, Ogbo has just been a guy so far in the NFL.
I like him. I like him.
But it's based on some potential that some people think he has.
Well,
it's
let's
not
face
based on
it.
anything
So
he's done
is
on the
Elijah
field.
Moore. So is a lot of the talent we have this year.
That's fair, but
A lot of it is.
We can't talk about Ogbo as if he's some proven entity.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
He has 9.5 sacks in 4 years.
But
It's
I'm
not like he's done that much.
I'm comparing Ogbo
Yeah.
to what Garrett had last year.
Right, but Ogbo's
Garrett's production last year, although solid,
yeah.
I think what's keeping him from being a defensive MVP is the accoutrements around him.
Agreed.
And I think they did the right thing in going out and adding all these pieces. Because I do think this, too. I don't think it's just Ogbo. I don't.
No.
I think that what they did at that position to bring in strength in numbers was brilliant. It's like having a bullpen with 7 arms that you can go to any one of these guys at any spot. That's invaluable. And
Agreed.
I think what the Browns have done with their defensive line is kind of building a great bullpen.
Agreed. And if you have a bunch of them, the 5th guy on the depth chart in them to me, can't be
They
that
all kind of
important.
cancel each other out.
Yes.
I agree. But what I'm looking at it as, that's why you could have put Harris in there.
Right.
You know, because you can't put all of them in the top 20, but because we're talking about him and what I think he's going to do for Myles Garrett, I just think he's going to. And look, we're splitting hairs here. You got him at 22. I say he's appropriate.
I
at
just
19.
feel like the guys have placed him there as if he's a proven player. And
I don't think so.
They placed him here because if you look at the
Cade York's not a proven
the parts
player.
around him.
No.
It's the position he plays.
Like the parts around him, there's a certain thing to be said for if you're on third down and you got Myles Garrett, Za'Darius Smith, and just say, pick one of the defenses.
Shelby Harris.
Shelby Harris, right? Now, who all three of those guys are proven. So that means the protection sliding that way. That means somebody, if they get double, is
somebody's going to feast.
What are you expecting for Ogbo to do? How many sacks?
I'm not going to measure his production based on those numbers.
Okay, but I'm just asking that.
I listen to me. I said that would be a dream to have somebody come off the bench and say I got double-digit sacks.
But I don't think he's going to get double-digit sacks.
He's only at 9.5 in 4 years.
Yeah, I would say
it's
a realistic expectation for him.
Yeah.
And this is why it's really tough to measure his production and his impact. I think 5 to 6 sacks would be great.
That would be huge.
It would be great. But I think what we're going to say at the end of the season, if this experiment is successful, I think what we'll do is go back and say that you know how they say that a high tide raises all boats.
Yeah, sure.
I think in this case, because last year they had Myles and a bunch of dudes.
Yep.
Well, it's not completely fair because Clowney had a bad year, but the year before he had played well and had double-digit sacks.
I know, but last year he played like a guy at the DMV.
He did.
What I'm saying is this year, they brought in so much talent that collectively that unit, which I think is the second most important unit in the sport,
he's going to get
is going to play exponentially better.
But are we sure that Ogbo's that good a player? What are we basing it on?
No,
like
we're not.
Elijah Moore was the 33rd pick in the draft.
Sure.
This guy was a 5th-round pick.
Well, by the way, he hasn't played like the 33rd pick in the draft.
Agreed.
But
there's a pedigree there. This guy was a 5th-round pick. It's not like he was some high pick.
But what he's shown on the field is he could rush the passer.
And that's what they need.
But did he?
Yes, he has shown that.
He showed
9.5 sacks in 4 years.
But it's not about all about sacks. It's about pressure.
No, wait, he has more than 9.5, doesn't he? Oh yeah, 14 tackles for loss. Let's not ignore that number.
As a defensive end,
those are almost just as good as sacks, Bull.
As a defensive end, it's not all about whether or not you get home. Sometimes you're not going to get home because it's a 3-step. Sometimes you're not going to get home because the guy gets rid of the ball in 2 seconds. Sometimes you're not going to get home just because Myles Garrett is that doggone good that he got there before you.
Right.
But what we're looking at is pressures. Can you get the quarterback to get the ball out?
Well, do we know his pressures?
His pressures when you talk
Bull,
about pass rush wins?
I think I'm also kind of intoxicated by the same thing that Bull mentioned. He passes the look test. You know how the organization has been drunk on David Njoku?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we're paying him like a top 3 tight end, but he's playing like a top 15 tight end?
36 pressures.
Part of that goes with when the guy walks out of the locker room, and if you're just looking at the players and you have no history, no knowledge of who they are, no numbers, they walk out, he's the guy that you look at and say, oh my God, that guy's the Under Armour mannequin.
There he is.
Like that dude is going to kick everyone's ass.
And then he's the least of your worries.
And
because the true Under Armour king is Myles Garrett on the other end. You're like, so who do we block? There's going to be times where he's never going to get doubled, and Myles Garrett's going to chase somebody, or Za'Darius Smith is going to chase somebody right into his lap.
You're right. And that's why I think he's so important, because if we see Myles Garrett enter the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, or the defensive MVP, or he approaches the sack record, I think it's going to be pretty clear that the Browns front office going out and getting all of these pieces.
Agreed.
So I might be judging all of them as Ogbo, really.
I just think there's more important guys on the D-line. I like Ogbo. I do think he has potential, but he's got a lot to prove as a player.
Earl's got to chime in real quick with one thing.
A couple things from PFF. Ogbo was the 30th overall ranked pass rusher in the NFL. He ranked 13th in pass rush.
30 is not great.
He ranked 13th in pass rush.
That's
giving
great.
the Browns 3 edge rushers that's ranked in the top 13.
Wow.
And,
so 13 is elite.
13th
because
is very
there's so
good,
many of them. And the other thing is, I think 30 is pretty damn
30
impressive.
it's 2 defensive ends.
2 defensive ends on every team. That puts him in the top half
Yep.
Just off the starters alone. And 13th, I'm really impressed with that. I think Adidi's here.